want to deliver to people an impression that this type of quality programming will exist when we do it on the worldwide scale. This is only a taste of what we can do. The state invested in us by giving us $2 million for capital outlay, which allows us to start the architectural planning in detail that we need to put a shovel in the ground.
This is an opportunity to celebrate our music in a true institutional way that will have economic impact, that will tell the story of our music, that will help music education across the state.
Well, 2 years ago, we did an economic impact study, and the economists came back and said it would be $150 million economic impact. To me, I think it's like a one-for-one. It's a no-brainer. You spend $165 million to build a project that delivers $150 million with an impact a year. Why wouldn't you do that?
So to understand better Louisiana music, you need to start with the blues, because without blues, there is no jazz, there is no R&B, there is no rock and roll.
You can tell a lot about the music and the history from these archives and these objects and these letters and things like that. Musicians traveled, people traveled, music traveled.
As far as New Orleans is concerned, there isn't a lot you can do where you don't have music involved.
Music is a part of everything we do, not just static artifacts and exhibits. That's an important part. But there's storytelling, there's music to be made, there's music to be explained.
The work that the museum project is doing in general is crucial, I think, to the community.
It's such an amazing experience here.
The musical lineage coming from Louisiana and New Orleans, and it has affected all types of music all around the globe, and it's important for people to have access to come and learn about that.
Well, to participate in helping to build that story and create the history of what that is and where it's going to be, I like being a part of that. The future is bright in New Orleans. Build it and they will come.
The Louisiana Music and Heritage Experience long-range plan is to change the music industry as far as compensation for musicians and gig workers. Starting with the work that we did with the Funky Uncle, we realized that producing quality music and pay at the right rates to fairly treat musicians and gig workers is necessary. Also, go into the clubs and provide support and grants to bands for guarantees, and also run an education program so that buyers understand what low cover charges or free music means to the musician's way of life. If we're all about education and inspiration, who is being inspired the most to create great music and to create our history than youth?
So it's a lot of influence here for those who are wanting to get into the music industry. I'm happy to see it happening. In fact, that somebody cares enough to want to keep the music going and want to have a place for these young people.
Literally, what music is passing the torch to the next generation.
It's so important to keep it throughout the generations, because that's just how it can live on.
I would not be here if it wasn't for being around those older guys who opened those doors for me to walk into.
So it's all about building, and I think if we build together with Chris and his staff, we could build this into something amazing.
I'm hoping to just keep creating music like that for the rest of my life.
And it's going to be something that's going to go on and on and on.
It's the final frontier for music museums. I've been involved in a lot of them, and this is the last one that needs to be done. New Orleans is the most musical city, perhaps in the world, and not to have a major institution, I don't say it's necessary, I say it's mandatory.
There are so many positives from the Louisiana Music and Heritage Experience. Our phenomenal economic impact, the cultural and societal impact, and of course, changing the music industry for musicians and gig workers for our and their future. Please join us.